how you doing? And welcome to NLP Talks with Laura Evans, a podcast for people looking to unleash their potential in business and life. I'm Laura Evans, international trainer of NLP and host for this podcast. Join me in Series 2 for a magical insight into the training room, learn about NLP and hear firsthand from our students about how NLP is changing their lives. Stay tuned. Hey, how you doing? And thanks for listening. I'm so looking forward to today's episode. My name is Laura Evans and welcome to NLP Talks with Laura Evans. I'm the founder and lead trainer at Unleash Your Potential and of course your host for this podcast. Today we're going to be talking about what is timeline therapy. Now, if you wish that life could be easier, or you struggle to move forward, or you're ready for something different, or even if you feel the weight of your past, then today is an episode that you're going to want to listen to. So let's get started. So what is timeline therapy? Well, timeline therapy was created by Tad James, and it is an advanced NLP technique designed to get rid of negative emotions, limiting decisions, and help people to create their future. It is just phenomenal. Now, if you joined me on Series 1 of the podcast, you will have heard lots of the guests talking about timeline therapy. We often describe timeline therapy like the hidden gem of the NLP Practitioner course. No one really knows when they come to do the course with us that it's going to be part of what we offer, but wow, does it blow their socks off. Now, when I talk about negative emotions, what exactly do I mean? Well, we on the NLP Practitioner course give our students an experience of timeline therapy. We do not train you as qualified timeline therapy practitioners on that course. You come back to do that on a separate course. But on the NLP Practitioner course, we help you to let go of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. They are what we call the big 5 negative emotions. Now, the wonderful thing about timeline therapy is not only is it content free, like a lot of other NLP techniques, i.e. you do not have to recount everything that's happened in your life to date, but it is also a really comfortable, easy process. Now, when I explain this to the students on the practitioner course, I can see them all looking at me going, really? How can it be easy and comfortable to get rid of anger? Well, let me tell you, it really is. Here's the thing. We all go through life and stuff happens to us. Life events, things that blow you off course, catch you off guard. Those big events. And, you'll be busy living your life. And then this event happens. It's like, whoa, stop a minute. And what happens is you go into survival mode. You live hour to hour, minute to minute even. And then you say to yourself, it's fine. I've just fed myself. I've just got my kids to the school and all that kind of stuff. And, one day I need to deal with this. But right now, I've just got to get through the day. And you throw this big emotional event over your shoulder into a metaphorical dustbin and say, one day I promised myself I will sort that out, but right now I've got to get through the day. And what happens throughout your life then is you fill up this metaphorical dustbin, and every time a massive life event happens, you go, whoa, hold on. Oh my God, I can't cope with that. How am I going to deal with this? Hold on, I need to get myself out of this situation. I need to sort this out. And hang on, I'll sort the emotion out another time. But right now I've got to keep living. And you fill up this metaphorical dustbin. Now, if you're anything like me, what you then do is screw the lid on really tight and sit on the top and hope that it never blows off. The problem, though, is sometimes it does. And sometimes it will catch you completely off guard as well. I don't know about you, but I've never made a great decision when I'm angry. Those tend to be some of the duff decisions that I've made in my life. And so holding on to those negative emotions from your past can often feel like you're walking through life with great, big, heavy suitcases. I always say to people, well, would life not be easier if you just put the suitcases down? Well, yeah, they say, but how? And timeline therapy is a go-to technique for me. As I say, it's content free. You don't have to sit and talk about all that stuff that has happened to you. I don't have to sit there and talk to you about the fact I was cheated on by my partner in my early 20s, and that put me off relationships for a long time. I don't have to tell you about the time that my mum got rushed into hospital and I overheard the consultant telling my dad that he had to hope that she either had a brain tumour that he could operate on or AIDS, because it was one or the other. She didn't hope he had AIDS, by the way. I've just said that wrong, but you get my gist. He was basically saying it's one or the other. Hope it's a brain tumor I can operate on. And as a small child, to be able to hear that was really traumatic. I didn't know how to handle those big emotions. My mum has been really ill ever since I was 6 years old. I was a young carer and helped around the family home. I've had trauma in my life. I remember coming out of school one day not knowing who was going to be at the school gate to pick me up. Now, you don't need to know any of that as a practitioner to be able to help me. And in fact, you probably don't need to hear any of my stuff. And I don't really want to recount it either. You know, for years I went through counselling, and to be quite honest, I got fed up of talking about it. Don't get me wrong, counselling has its place for anybody that needs to talk out loud about their problems to help them find a solution. But for me, it wasn't that effective. I didn't want to talk about all of that stuff. I wanted somebody to help me feel different, help me feel better, help me move forward with my life, and help me in a comfortable, easy way. So many of my one-to-one clients and the students in the training room are so relieved when I tell them they can let go of these big, heavy, negative emotions in a content-free, easy, fast way. I even say to the students on our courses, do you know what? We might even have a giggle while we're doing it. People go, you can see them going through their head going, anger, sadness, hurt, fear and guilt. Right, we're going to get rid of those. And she reckons we're going to laugh while we do it. And I'm like, yes, because it's a comfortable process. I even sometimes end up singing Let It Go to my delegates as I'm working with them, and I will spare you that recital today. But actually, it doesn't need to be a really heavy, difficult process to let these things go. Unlike other therapies that are out there, this is super easy. We take about 2 hours to pre-frame, 2 to 2.5 hours to what we call pre-frame a client for timeline therapy. That's essentially teaching you to be a good client, teaching you what to expect, what we're going to be doing. And then we allow 20 minutes for each of the 5 negative emotions. That's 20, 40, 60, 80, 120. So 120 minutes roughly, something like that. So hour and a half-ish, whatever. My maths is rubbish, by the way. I apologise if I've added that up wrong. But it doesn't take long to do. And when I think about the number of years that I had all of those problems to transform in one afternoon, just like, wow, it blew my mind. Now, when I was on the NLP Practitioner course, you'll have heard me mention back in episode 1 of this series that I had anxiety and depression. I never went on the NLP Practitioner course to get help for that. I went to be an even better HR manager. That was the role I did at the time. However, I had timeline therapy and it made a world of difference to me. I was heavily medicated before I went on that course. And when I came off, I was off medication in a very, very swift way. Now, please, if you're taking medication, do not stop taking it. Go and see your medical GP practitioner and discuss other options. There are other ways other than drugs and medication to help people. I'm not anti-medication. What I am is helping people to move forward in their life in the best way possible. And that's what happened to me. I often describe timeline therapy as domestos for the mind, and there are other bleach agents available. But if you're living here in the UK and you'll remember an advert that used to run on the telly many years ago, that domestos killed 99.99% of known germs, like me, you probably remember the ad. And that's a little bit like what timeline therapy does. Whilst we might be working on anger, sadness, hurt, fear, and guilt, it's not unusual for a client to actually have benefits in other areas of their life, offloading other negative emotions while we're there. We don't specifically work on them, but I will never, ever cease to be amazed about the benefit that my clients get when I work with them with timeline therapy. It's just a phenomenal process. I was just last night talking to one of our delegates, and she sent me a text message from one of her clients that she had done timeline therapy with. And she just was a different woman. She decided to change her career. She has decided to go and set up a business because she knows her income will increase by 150% by making this decision. And she now has clarity. She now knows what she needs to do because she's no longer being weighed down by those unwarranted and unneeded emotions from the past. Timeline therapy doesn't stop you experiencing those negative emotions in the future. There are absolutely times where it's appropriate to feel sad, absolutely appropriate to maybe feel angry about something that's happened. What timeline therapy does is allows you to let go of the inappropriate and unwarranted negative emotions which you are hanging onto from the past. People feel lighter as a result of timeline therapy. They tell me they feel better for having let go of that stuff. They feel like barriers have removed. I remember doing it with one client and she literally looked like she walked out of the room a foot taller. Now, of course, she didn't grow through the process, but that is what happened. If you heard podcast series 1, you'll remember Jeff Kidner, who joined me. And I remember him saying, and you can go back and listen to his episode on series 1, where he talked about a director he had done timeline therapy with. And she went home that night and her husband said to us, "Blimey, where have you been? Have you had Botox?" And she hadn't. It's just that the frown and the wrinkles that she had on her face had gone because she had let go of all that stuff. I could talk for hours about how passionate I am about allowing people to let go of their baggage from the past and step forward into their future. I have absolutely seen people achieve goals and dreams that before were only ever dreams, but now they have clarity and it seems like this stuff is possible, and so they move forward in their lives. Now, I can't do timeline therapy with you here on the podcast. I would love to, but I'm hoping that you're getting a sense for A, my passion, and B, just what this technique can do. What I do want to do is give you one little nugget, which I'd love you to start to do at bedtime. So it's one of my bedtime routines, and I share this with all of my students and everybody that I do timeline therapy with. Now, one of the ways in which timeline therapy works is because when we take a learning, we take something positive, something we're going to do differently as a result of an experience we have, it has the benefit of releasing that negative emotion. Now, you can't do timeline therapy to yourself. You need a practitioner to do that with you. However, at night, it would be great if you could get into the practice of taking learnings just before you go to sleep. So here is what I'd like you to do. Every night when you go to bed, when the TV's off, your book is away and the lights are out and you're literally just about to go to sleep, lie in your bed nice and relaxed and close your eyes and ask yourself this question. What can I learn from today? The learnings of which will allow me to let go of any negative emotions from the day. And just wait and see what pops into your head. And you'll be surprised the learnings that your unconscious mind will give you. They'll just pop into your head. It might be, for example, that you've had a really busy, stressful day and you're lying in bed just about to go to sleep and you say to yourself, what's the one thing I need to learn from today? The learnings of which will allow me to let go of these emotions. And you wait, and in your head just pops this idea that you think, do you know what? I've got to get better at delegating. Whatever the learning is that pops into your head, acknowledge it and go straight to sleep. If you can start to do that every single day when you go to bed, I can tell you that it will really, really help you. What I'd now like to do is share with you some extracts of the timeline therapy demonstration that I did on our practitioner course when I invited our podcast team to come into the training room with me. I was doing timeline therapy with Lisa and some of the other delegates. And so what we've done is taken some of the classroom clips and we've put them together for you. I hope you enjoy them. So let's cut across to the training room now. So if I were to ask your unconscious mind where your past is, to what direction would you point? Good. And your future, to what direction would you point? Great. Now float above your timeline into the future. And as soon as you notice a positive emotion, stop and let me know. So now just float up above your timeline over the past to position 1. So just ask your unconscious mind, what is it that you need to learn in order that you can forgive yourself?
Let go.
Okay, and are you prepared to do that?
Yeah.
I've dumped so much baggage in a matter of minutes, which I didn't realise I was carrying. It's 42 years worth of just stuff. And then when you let it go, you go, I didn't actually need all that. And it's given me more energy and I can see the scope now of going forward.
It's seeing the transformation when the penny drops with that person and you've removed something that they've lived with for a long time. Because when you take out the negative emotions, you physically see the release of the negative emotion that's caused barriers and walls for them in their thinking. And it's just an honour to see that release from somebody. It's fantastic.
Slowly I could feel everything, all the baggage starting to flow away. It's cleaned my mind. I feel very refreshed and so I feel great. Yeah, I feel really good.
It was an emotional experience for me, actually. I'm feeling exhilarated and just, feeling really positive, actually, in a good place now.
Just seeing everybody they've unfolded and their shoulders have lifted and I can see smiley faces and it's awesome. It's it's a fascinating thing to watch.
It was completely mind-blowing. You have to experience it to believe it. I was shaken, felt light afterwards. I felt my brain had been completely rewired. Yeah, it was the most profound training experience.
I really hope that you enjoyed hearing some of the stuff that goes on in the training room when we're doing timeline therapy. It is a truly transformational program. If you'd like to qualify in timeline therapy so that you can use it to help others, then get in touch and let's have a conversation and see whether we can arrange for you to come and join me in the training room to learn how to do it. If you're not looking to train in it to become a qualified timeline therapy practitioner, but you are looking for a practitioner to help you, then you'll find timeline therapy practitioners all the way around the globe. Please note though, timeline therapy is very different to timeline or walking the timeline. Timeline work or timeline and walking the timeline are the old school traditional timeline activities. These are not what I teach and they are not what I advocate for all sorts of reasons. If you want to get an experience of timeline therapy, then you must make sure that you work with a qualified timeline therapy practitioner who is accredited and has completed training with a Timeline Therapy Association training school. So Tad James is very protective of his technique, and quite rightly so, because it is amazing. As a trainer of timeline therapy, I had to become approved by Tad and the Timeline Therapy Association, and that is the technique that I teach. So please, if you're going to work one-on-one with a therapist or coach, please make sure they are adequately trained. This goes for any technique, but particularly timeline therapy. Make sure they're adequately trained, and it is timeline therapy delivered by a qualified timeline therapy practitioner in the Tad James methodologies that you are working with. Thank you so much for listening again. This was episode 8 in series 2 of our podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed finding out about this technique. And if you've enjoyed it, please make sure that you subscribe to our podcast and make sure you leave us a review. I would love a review off you if you've got this far in series 2. Now, if you're not able to get to our live training courses here in the UK, you may be interested to know that we also have some online courses. Of course, you can access these from anywhere in the world as long as you've got Wi-Fi. If you pop across to our website, unleashyourpotential.org.uk/online-courses, you will see all of the courses that we currently have available online. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, and I look forward to welcoming you back onto the next episode.